Yes, we are live. Welcome, welcome, my dear beautiful friends. This is episode number 139 on the Zero Point Healing Show. And today I have with me an amazing guest, and we are going to talk about this exciting thing for me, which is the soul contracts. Specifically, what kind of contracts do we do prior to birth, and what kind of challenges we choose, and how that becomes a gift in our life. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and I'm so happy that we got somebody with so much of knowledge, especially with this beautiful modality called soul contracting. So this modality is in fact new to me, so I'm looking really forward to today's conversation here. So before I move on to my guest, just a short intro about me. I'm Vishnupriya. I'm a holistic healing practitioner, certified in multiple different modalities. And even when my guest today, he was here, she was talking about soul contracting. I did one of these modalities called soul plan reading, which felt for me when she speak about, very similar as well. So all of these different modalities that I kind of came through, it showed me different possibilities in my life. It showed me, a new world, I should say, a new world, a new kind of prior to all this holistic healing. I was in a totally different business. I was a MBA holder who finished up and started off a business by myself, e-commerce and all of that, which did not go as how I expected it to be. And then I got into one big whole dip. From there, the law of attraction came up. So many different types of meditations and things came up. The spiritual learning started for me. And then I went through this beautiful ride through so many different modalities, getting certifications. And as an end product of that, what came up is zeropointhealing.com, which is a web directory that I've created for all holistic healing practitioners, all different holistic healing modalities. And today I'm so happy that it's serving so many different people, giving them access to the holistic healing practitioners and different modalities. And today there's more than 70 different modalities registered on the website. So that's what zeropointhealing.com is all about. So if you are a holistic healing practitioner yourself, you can register on the website and create your profile and listing for free. Also, if you would like to have this kind of an interview with me, you can let me know about that. If you're a client searching for solutions of different challenges in life, we have so many gifts for you in the website. So if you would like to go to zeropointhealing.com, you get to see all the different practitioners and all the beautiful creations that they can help you create in your life. All right. So with that, I am moving on to my guest here. So welcome, Anna. Thank you so much for choosing to come to my show. It's my honor. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this. My journey really began at a very young age. I'm in my 40s now. It began at 16 with a deep trauma that I experienced. I became a drug addict at a very young age due to traumas that I had experienced. And when I was 16, I had a near-death experience from the drug use that changed everything for me. Prior to the near-death experience, I didn't have any form of understanding of my soul, my belief system. I felt empty, alone. And I want to really say that once I had the near-death experience, which was quite incredible, it would probably take a half hour just for me to explain that. So I'm not going to get too into that, but it was really beautiful and it was a healing within itself. But when I came out of that experience and went into recovery, it was the recovery experience that led me to all forms of spirituality and, in fact, soul contracting. I wanted to understand my experience because I have to say, when I had the near-death experience, it was literally like it was meant to be, as if I was meant to be in that exact time at that exact space, internally and externally, for that event to have taken place and bring me into my own peace and understanding of self, and then eventually leading me into my spiritual journey. And I guess what I wanted to share that with people. The older I got and the more I learned about my own experiences and my own contracts, through astrology and through different types of modalities like past life regression and in between lives regression. I knew that that was something I wanted to give others. And one of the gifts that I received, I mean, I had always had a very deep intuition. I really believe I had it since birth. But after the near-death experience, I have to say my mind's eye, my intuitive senses just were greatly heightened. And I was able to look at people and understand their energy, feel their energy, vibrationally read their energy, understand the language of vibration. So these things all started to come together. And that's what led me on to the soul contracting path. And since then, I mean, oh my God, I've probably read thousands and thousands of soul contracts over the years, doing this for about 20 years at this point.
Wow, this is so amazing. And going through such experiences and getting to learn about everything in your life, everything that has happened in your life with this. So this is exactly what happened to me as well. So for me, it was like going ups and downs in different directions. And then finally, when I got these different modalities, I was like, oh, this is why this happened. Now I get it, right? So that awareness, when it kind of strikes you for the first time, it's like, wow, looks like the entire life was already planned as if, a script written prior. So tell us more about what this entire soul contracting is all about. How does that look like? What does that mean? And especially the challenges becoming the gifts of you. So tell us
Yeah.
a bit about that as well.
So the more technical aspects of it is, so obviously it's astrological based. That's the foundation of it. You don't need to do astrology to do soul contracting. I do know some mediums that are able to channel the contract in different ways. I like to use both modalities. So yes, I will get all of your astrological information, and that will be like the first foundational blueprint. But there is a lot of channeling involved in it. So as I'm reading the astrological chart of the person that I'm working with, I will be pausing and closing my eyes and going into a deep channeling experience where I'm able to give them more information. I've kind of become very good at channeling in my waking state while being able to look at a chart. So we're going to go through the planets, the stars, the moon, different aspects, your node aspects that are going to give us very clear indications of the specific themes of your life. Do you have a self-worth theme? Is your theme about death and rebirth? Is your theme about forgiveness? And there's so many themes. We definitely don't only have one. I always like to say soul contracting is like an onion. We have to keep peeling the layers and peeling the layers. So really, we're going to start looking for the main themes. And through time, because people come from many soul contract readings, we just start learning it a little bit more and a little bit more. And I also want to say that we have soul contracts with the people in our lives. So these experiences with soul contracting will begin with ourselves, but they will inevitably lead to your relationship with your mother, your father, your spouse. What is that person's essence, whether it is a supportive essence or an essence that shows up with some form of adversity or contrast to lead to self-discovery. But again, it's so multi-layered. But really, it's an astrological practice as well as a channeling practice to get into the roots of what your soul may have planned to experience in order to grow in consciousness, in order for your own evolution to come into being. Because the Earth School is all about contrast, right? So we have up, we have down, right? I always say, if you have a contract based in courage, this means that you are willing to come into body, come into form, and experience levels of fear. And that's because it's the opposite side of the energy, right? So we have to go through that contrast and shift through that contrast. In that process, we have really deep discussions. We just really do. We'll talk about some of the traumatic things or difficult things that have happened to a person. And we pose the question, if you chose this prior, if this is what I like to call a vehicle of growth in which for you to discover a certain virtue in your life or embody that virtue, how did it provide you with that ability, with the ability to do that? And it can be really, really healing, because especially for me, I went through so many years of active addiction, And I was actually one of the lucky ones because I was an active addict as a young in a very young time of my life, and I really spent 4 years in it. There are people who spend 20, 30 years in active addiction. So I'm lucky in that sense, but when we have many years of pain, we want to understand the purpose of it. I always say soul contracting gives great purpose to the pain, and we can take that then and create an inner transformation. We actually can change our neural pathways, because if we change our perspective towards what's happened to us in the past, we change our present moment frequency. We change where we are vibrationally right here, right now, and we're able to be more present. And then that's when we can take the gifts. So perhaps you have an abandonment theme and you've experienced abandonment in different areas of your life. When we go through this process, you're able to see, well, what's the opposite of being alone and feeling abandoned? It's being loved and nurtured, but it's also being independent and self-sufficient. So I help them get from one, state of being to the next state of being, using the vehicle of growth within the contract. And it really is an extremely healing process, but it is a process you have to be willing to do, and you have to be ready, because as you know, sometimes when the pain is new, and we're really engulfed in it, it might be hard to see and shift these perspectives. So if the client is finding it hard and having a difficult time with it, that's when we'll bring in other modalities, like different forms of hypnotherapy, different forms of meditation, different forms of theta healing, all of these modalities that I've been trained in for so many years. So, sometimes I have to go into the toolbox with them and bring in other healing modalities just to help them be willing to come into the new perspective, if that makes sense.
Yes. And more of, so let's say I'm coming in for a soul contracting kind of a session here. Is there a specific, first of all, challenge, reason why I might come in for a session, right? Is it that if I'm actively facing some kind of, let's say, financial problems or problems in relationship or problems with my body, something of that nature, is that what kind of usually leads a person to come in for a soul contract session? Or have you also had clients who are just like, hey, I'm curious, what's my soul contract all about? um yeah, if you want to speak on that, and then I'll ask my next question.
Yeah, sure, sure. That's a great question, actually. And I would say it's 50-50. I get a lot of people who are new to it and say, hey, I'm just in a new phase of life. I'd kind of like to explore this and see what it's all about. But I do get a lot of people that have very specific experiences that they are trying to understand. Now, with that said, even those who come that are just curious, after the first session, they will be like, oh my God, I have so many things now that I want to learn about. And I'll tell them, go home, write a list of the experiences in your life that you might want to get some insight in. I will also say that what I often also get is people feel a lack of purpose in their life and they can't seem to pinpoint it. And they want to understand, what am I doing here? So a lot of people come to me for that. And when that happens, I have to explain to them that you are not here solely for a physical purpose, because a lot of people believe that. They think they are waiting to find that right job or that right partner, and they believe that that is part of their purpose. But the truth is, it's really not. Your purpose is very much internal. In fact, most of it is internal. We know from the law of attraction that our external experience is just a reflection of our internal experience. So I have to work with them in that way too, to open their mind to understanding that, let's just put all the manifestation aside and let's really go in and see where the essence of your soul is. For instance, I love to look at someone's moon astrologically. What constellation was that moon in? What house is it in? What does that say about your soul's journey? Because the moon represents the soul's journey, as the sun sign represents your more astronaut, physical bound experience. So I definitely get an array of different reasons why people come, for sure.
Right. And talking about purpose, I've seen that, in my case, as well as the clients whom I kind of meet, always, as how you said, there's always people are in search of. What is that one purpose for which I've come for this session, for this life, right? So and I love the way how you said it's more internal. It's not for a physical reason that we are here for. Can you give an example of how that internal thing actually is like? So in your case, maybe you have done soul contracting session for yourself. So when it comes to purpose, how does that look like when you go into that internal space?
Well, for me personally, my internal space brought me to three themes, which was, and they're internal themes, which was self-worth, self-love, and self-realization. My addiction became a platform, a catalyst or vehicle of growth for me to discover self-love and self-worth first. And then when I started to embody self-love, embody self-worth, which took a lot of time and a lot of healing and a lot of holistic forms of therapy, as well as traditional forms of therapy, then the next phase, because contracts evolve, they grow as you grow, or they stay stagnant if you stay stagnant. So your level of growth, the amount you're able to consciously ascend in a lifetime is very much free will based. It's based on what you do with it, how you work with it, how you encounter it. So once the self-love and the self-worth started to come into my state of being, it led to this idea of what is self-realization, and it led me to that next phase. But at the end of the day, if we want to mix that together, so that's really the moon aspect that I'm speaking about, the internal process. But what it led me to in the physical world was I wanted to be of service. All of a sudden, I had this deep desire to serve others, to help others. And it led to self-study, and it then led eventually to this work and to me being here with you as well. So, you know, again, our internal experience becomes the manifestations of our physical reality. So it led to that space. But I will say that when I finally, you know, because I was 16 years old when I had my near-death experience, so I really didn't start working with other people till I want to say 25, 26 on a professional level. But when I looked at my astrology later on, I actually have 6 planets, which is a stellium, it's called a stellium, a concentration in the area of service to humanity. So it was always there, is my point. It was always there. It was just, I needed to do the internal transformation work. I needed to allow myself to step into the internal contract and process to get to the external reality.
Beautiful. And during a session, so how long usually a session exists? Let's say anybody watching the video now wants to kind of book a session with you. How does that look like? Do you do it online? Also, how long the sessions are? Is it multiple session or a single session? How does that work?
Sure. Everything is done online via Zoom. I really prefer that because I do have clients all over the country and out of the country. I live in the US, so it really gives me the ability to speak to as many people as I can. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. I am available for you. And I usually sessions are around 50 minutes, but they can go to 60 minutes depending. You know, on the website, it'll say 50 minutes, but if I feel in that 50-minute mark that we haven't really reached where we need to go yet, it could go as long as 60 minutes. But people usually do multiple sessions. In the first session, we will give you I will give you a really good foundation of your general themes. But when we want to get into the peeling of the onion and get very into different specifics, they'll usually come a few times a year. And as you had mentioned before, if there's something very particular going on in their life at that time, even if they had a contract reading maybe a month ago, but something's come up, they'll usually book a session to come and speak with that about that specifically.
So then, does that mean my contracts are changing and evolving and growing, or as
Yeah.
I move and change in my life?
Yes. So it's like every planet has a contrast, right? So the planet Pluto on the light side of the contract is the great transformer. It's where we can find our greatest gifts through through transformation and depth. But the dark side of Pluto is that it brings a lot of trauma. It brings a lot of shadow, right? So really what I would say is it's a process. So you could be working on your Pluto for many years in different aspects. But yes, as you grow and evolve, because we're living in a world of infinite possibilities. So as an intuitive specialist, you know, you have many different possible realities that are coexisting simultaneously. What manifests, what comes into your experience is based on your resonance, your energetic resonance and momentum. So the contracts are always changing, but you're the one directing the change. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And it sounds very, because I know from my, background, we are coming from, astrology and all of that is like, hey, there is this one fixed destiny that you are here for. There is one pathway, one road in which you're gonna, in your future. So in our astrology stuff, it's more like, hey, your future, you're gonna become this person, or you're gonna be like this, which all feels like there is as if a fixed route a soul is choosing. But I guess more of from what you're talking, as well as from my knowledge as well, I guess it's synchronizing here, which is I'm the person creating my reality, and I'm shifting and changing, and how my contracts and things. And when you said about there are, let's say, different timelines exist, and I get to choose and create what I want to create, there's that free will for the soul as well, if I
Right.
understand you right.
But I love to talk about what you're saying, because that you're making actually a really good point, and this is how I choose to explain it. That is all true. Everything we're speaking about is true, but there's another element to it. So let's just imagine we're hiking up a mountain. There's only one summit, but there are many paths, many trails to get there. So my summit is self-love, self-worth, self-realization, and service to humanity. That's my summit. How I choose to express that, how challenging it would be to express that, or how, if I want to express it through joy, through love, right? Where I choose to take that, how I choose to embody it, and how I choose to express it is where we can kind of shift these timelines. Is that so? So again, I really do feel that the themes are foundational and are very, I don't necessarily want to use the word fixed, but chosen prior to your birth experience, because it's something that you desired to embody and to experience energetically. But how you get there and how far you take it and how you choose to express it. And if we're talking about challenges in particular, there are definitely themed challenges. So obviously, if my theme is self-love, I'm going to experience the opposite of that, which I did very much during my childhood, which led to me numbing myself and trying to numb the emotion through addiction, right? So those are all chosen aspects. But when we step into the knowledge of this, we can then work on the healing aspect of it. And then we get to choose how long it takes or what we're going to do. So for instance, when I was in the healing process of recovery, that was very challenging, but I chose to take that challenge. And in fact, just to give you a little specifics, my addiction in my astrological chart was rooted in the planet Pluto, which is the planet of death and rebirth. So there's no coincidence that I had a near-death experience through that. So I want to say we're doing a dance here between what is destined, because what we're destined to do, once again, is internal. So I'm destined to learn about self-love. I'm destined to embody that. How I choose to go that route, or the path in front of me, there's also elements of that that are somewhat chosen, like the planet Pluto being in the area for me that would indicate addiction, indicate a death and rebirth. But what you do with it, how you express it, that's where the shifts come. I hope that clarifies it or gives it another piece to it.
Yes, and beautifully said. Wow, I truly love the way you explained that. Thank you. Is there any other client experiences that you can share with us? Maybe somebody had a challenge and how maybe the soul contracting helped them.
Yes, yes. I have two clients that always come to mind when I talk about this, and I hope some of them are watching today. And this is one of them is a group of women. There, it's not just one, but there is one in particular, and her name is Linda, and she is the founder of a organization called the Beating Hearts. But there's hundreds of people in the organization, and they're really all are a collective whole working together. But they are a group of women who have lost their children through overdose. And, we can all, once you say that as a human, you feel the pain and grief right away of how difficult a loss like that must be for a parent. And when Linda and I spoke, and we speak all the time, we're actually very good friends now, but she's an example of once she was in a space where she was willing to go into the grief from a different perspective. And I didn't necessarily help her do this. I want to give her credit for that. She did most of this on her own and found me when she was already in that space. And then we've done some soul contracting, and it only enhanced and validated her own healing experience. But she was able to take such a difficult and tragic loss, and she found great purpose in it. She has said to me many times, I know my son passed because he was the catalyst for me to create this organization that is now out there in the world, helping people every day, giving them love and giving them support. And I'll tell you, one of the things that Linda and her group, the Beating Hearts, do is when they learn of somebody in the local area who has had a child that passed, they bead, that's why they're called the Beating Hearts, they bead these beautiful beads with beautiful sayings on them, and they show up at this person's home, and they knock on the door, they give them the beads, and they say, we are here. So this is someone who has taken probably one of the deepest challenges of grief that anyone can encounter in a lifetime, and learned to see the purpose in it and taken that and become of service. And another great example is I have another client, and her name is Debbie, who came to me many years ago, looking for answers. She was in a marriage, and she had experienced betrayal in her marriage, and she was just so grief stricken and so confused. And in her soul contract reading, I said, this has happened to you. You chose this because at one point it's actually going to bring you and your husband closer, and you're going to find a new purpose together. But for you as an individual soul, I said, this is going to bring you into the deepest levels of self-awareness and understanding than you've ever gone to before. You're going to write a book, and you're going to start you're going to have your own form of at the time I didn't know it would be an institute, but I said, I don't know, you're creating your own kind of group where you are going to help women all over the world. You had to experience this betrayal because of where you're going next. And 6 or 7 years later, I believe I'm getting the timing right, she is now a psychologist. She went to get her PhD. She has opened up the PBT Institute. She helps women all over the world. And I even had said to her in that reading, I'm even going to work with you one day. I think I'm going to work with your institute. And right now, as we speak, she has master teachers that come to teach the women, and I am one of them. So when she first came to me, she said to me, this isn't possible. I have no plans to do any of this. I said, well, there's an age-old saying, tell God your plans and God laughs, right? I said, this is what the contract says. Believe me, in time, when you go into this internal process, this will start to unfold. And she's, I believe, on her third book at this point, and her institute is growing every day. So I really love those two stories because I think they are a really great example. But I do want to say about both of those stories that these women went through great pain, and they were willing to look at the pain as a vehicle. They were willing to do that internal work and grasp the gift and the virtue. So there's we all have to make that choice. So I just want to acknowledge the work that they had to put in within themselves to get to that place, to honor the gift.
Wow, both were amazing to even kind of envision, as you were saying. I was like imagining how that person grew from there. And I see in your services there's the 25-minute versus a 50-minute. So what difference can a person, so those of them wanting to choose, what information can you give on that?
Sure, sure. The soul contracts can only be done in the longer 50-minute sessions. You'll see on my website that there's a choice between an intuitive coaching reading or a soul contract. What we're talking about today are soul contracts, and they have to be 50 minutes because there's a lot of information to go through. The 25-minute is the basic type of intuitive reading where I'll look at your chart. I'll kind of give you a good idea of what's going on right now in the present moment and some of the energies that you're going to be presented with in the next couple of years. So it's just a little bit different. We just don't get into the intricacies of the soul contract. People usually use a 25-minute when something's going on in their life and they just kind of want to take a look around energetically, because again, that session is also astrological but intuitive, where I'm channeling and using the psychic platform, and I'll just tune into them and go, okay, well, I see this, I see this, I see this. But there is always an element of coaching involved where, you know, again, this is where it's a little bit different from what people might see as a traditional psychic reading. There is always an element of coaching where we take responsibility for our own energy, for what we are creating, and for how we are responding to our internal and external experience. We always come with the understanding that we are a co-creator, that, you know, this is not something you can't change or work with. And we always take responsibility for the energy that is presenting itself. So I'm really like a guide and helping you see the levels of the energy, what's in front of you, and sometimes pointing out things that you might not recognize are there, and giving you some insight into the now moment, the future possibilities. So they're a little bit different. I hope that clarifies it.
Yes, sounds beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna. Wow, I really love, and most likely I might come and book a session with you. So thank you so much for sharing so much information. I truly loved, uh, and the way you're putting out is so clear and easy to understand. So wow, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I am very grateful, and I really enjoyed this time with you.
Beautiful. Already, my dear beautiful beings, if you would like to book a session with Anna, you can click on the link that we have posted along with this video, and you can have a chat with her. You can send her an email or a message, and then you can also book a session with her on her website. Thank you so much. Also, we have a 10% off discount coupon, so it's 0 point. So when you contact Anna, if you can just let her know that you found her through 0 Point Healing, and she will give you that first booking 10% off discount as well. So thank you. What a beautiful talk here, and I got to learn so much out of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so thank you, my dear viewers. I'm gonna see you on my next show. Thank you so much for your support, and you can subscribe to the channel. You can share this video as well, specifically if there is any friends, family members whom you know who might be interested in this kind of a session and this might help them. Please do share this video. I'm gonna see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Anna.